Hi, welcome to 304 Customs Garage. In this episode, we're going to be covering exhaust headers for our small block Chevy swapped S10. If you haven't seen any of our previous videos of how we've gotten this far, please go back and check those out. The headers I'm going to be using on this S10 build are these right here behind me. These are Hedman Husler Fenderwell headers. These are designed for an S10 truck, but they probably will work on other applications as well, but I do recommend you check that out, and I'm not going to say that they will. So, we're going to cover these, take a closer look at them, show you everything you get, and then we're going to take a look at some things on the truck before we get these put up and mocked up for some exhaust. So let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, so here's our Hedman Husler Fenderwell headers that we're going to be using on a small block Chevy for our S10. Before we get started, I want to say thank you to everyone for sticking with the channel. If you're new to the channel, please go back and check out some of our other videos for the S10 build. If you find anything helpful or think the content is interesting and want to see more, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Support us on the channel. And I thank you all once again. Okay, so into the headers. Give you a brief little overlook of them. The welds look pretty decent. These headers are the 1 3/4 model with a 3-inch collector. What you get when you purchase these are both headers, both gaskets, and 12 bolts. You also get sort of like a thank you, guidelines, tips, if you want to call it that. If you all want to pause that, you can read it. I'm not going to read it to you. And you also get some more tips and, I guess, instructions, kind of. If you want to pause it, I'll hold it there so you can read it. Okay. Other than that, I think they're really nice headers. The one thing that I don't like about these headers are that obviously they're raw. So the oils from your hands, as you can see where I've touched them already, is starting to leave a little bit of surface rust, which will scratch right off. But we're going to send these out to get coated eventually after we get the exhaust mocked up partially, so they'll look nice and pretty under the hood. But another thing that I don't like particularly about these are slip fit. And according to another YouTuber that I saw, he did a similar video covering the headers that he used on his build, and these right here leak exhaust. And so I think I'm going to take a page out of his book, and before I send these off, as you can see here, they're only covered right there. That's what holds them together, slip fit. And basically these tubes slide into this collector here, and they're held together by nuts and bolts here with these little flanges. So I think I'm going to take a page out of his book, and I believe on his, he welded these into here. I think I'm going to do the same thing. You won't be able to get inside there like he mentioned, but it should be enough to where you won't hear it leaking exhaust. It does. It looks pretty tight, but I'll take his word for it on that one. It's going to leak because it looks like it will. But you get both heads, because that's the driver's side and this is the passenger side with the tag on it. So we'll flip these over here so you can take a look at them. So I'm not sure what size these ports are, but we'll take a look here in a second and you'll see these ports are a lot bigger than the heads that I have. And those gaskets show that we left a lot of meat in the heads, but we don't have the room in those heads particularly to port them out any bigger. Don't think you want to gasket match those on the type of head that I'll be using. But like I said, this is a nice thick flange. One thing other that I'll note from test fitting the driver's side header, because I was working on a few things on the truck off camera, is I believe that I will be getting ARP exhaust studs to put these on to help, because putting these bolts in on here inside the truck That's a definite challenge. Maybe I was doing it the hard way, but by myself, that was a real challenge for me to get those on. And I feel like studs will definitely help installation and removal in the future. So there's your basic heads. That's everything you get in the box when you purchase this model number. Again, this is 65853, 1.75" to a 3" collector. Do you have any questions? Drop it in the comments below. If you don't, we'll go over here and take a look at the motor side of things. Okay, so I took one of the gaskets, and of course, if you've seen any of our previous videos, when I covered the motor, when I first started the channel earlier in my YouTube career here, these heads are Chevy Vortec heads. They have the works done under the valve cover there. Guides are reduced, different springs, retainers, locks, roller rockers, whole 9 yards up there. And I also, before I put all that stuff together, ported the exhaust side of these, did some bowl blending, and cleaned up the intake side and raised the roof a little bit on it. Not a whole bunch on the intake side, but it should give these some nice gains over factory. Like I said, I had these before I ever considered even purchasing S10 to put these in on this motor, and I'm going to leave it that way for now. If this motor blows eventually, I'll probably put aluminum heads on it. I don't know if I want to mess with porting iron heads again. That's a real time-consuming process there and a very dirty job. Anyway, so these are Chevy Vortec ported heads. And as you see, here is the factory gasket that comes with this. And I just put the bolts in there so you could fit it. Alright, so as you see, the shiny parts here. Here is what we have left in the head. Probably could raise this up a little more. I didn't want to risk it. Obviously, I'm not going to take it back apart now, so I'm not too worried about it. But you see how much bigger the header port is over the Vortec exhaust port. I mean, there's a good bit of meat there, I guess, left in the head. And you see here, that's a, yeah, there's a good bit of stuff left there. It'll be fine though. We're gonna leave it, rock it like it is. I'm curious to see how these Vortec heads do. It sounded good when I started it. Last time I started, it's been a while since I've started this motor, but like I said, I can't say that I won't be tempted to start it after I get these headers on here before I cut them and run the exhaust back under the frame. Now, some things that I will note here are here, I got rid of the ABS stuff, and I'm going to attempt to keep this. There's another piece that goes back here, and a brake line that goes here to here. When I was fitting this stuff up, that's why this piece is off here right now, is the brake line came down to about here, and it was hitting the exhaust rudder for that port. So I got some brake line. I'm going to modify it and run it back up there and put that piece back on here. Not 100% sure that I need that other piece, but I'm going to put it on there just in case. And then, of course, the brake line comes out here to run to each side of your calipers. We're going to have to modify that, and I'm going to take the brakes back to the firewall and then down over here somewhere out of the way, away from the heat, because if not, it's going to rest right here and it's going to be right on the header almost. Other than that, just tucking this up here, and it looks like there's plenty of room. Your steering shaft's going to run through that one tube on the header down to the little gearbox. And then my other plan is to run it down in there, and it's going to come down through here, and I'm going to push it back under. That seems to be a popular option for exhaust in this truck. waiting on some parts, so haven't made much more progress on there. And waiting on some body parts too for this truck. I don't know when they're supposed to come. I ordered it like at the beginning of June. It still hasn't shipped, but we'll see. So if not, I think I'm going to cancel it from Summit and just try to find it somewhere else, or maybe go to a junkyard and try to source that part. I'm tired of waiting for it, and it's holding up the project. But I just wanted to show you that, basically. That's the gist of it. Got most of the motor. Now, the last thing I want to mention about those headers is I am going to be sending them to Jet Hot after I get the exhaust frame back under the truck and turn back to go towards the rear. And when they come back from Jet Hot, they should have this nice kind of coating on them. These are from Jags. They're not for an S10, so obviously I can't use those, but that's my plan for this truck, exhaust. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know in the comments. If you don't, I'll see you next time, YouTube. Thanks again for watching. Hopefully I'll see you soon.